Do you know your rights as a tenant in Ireland, whether it's rent increases, deposits, or even evictions? Sassito in here, and in this video I would be discussing renting in Ireland 101. When you're renting in Ireland, the RTB is something you really need to be familiar with, knowing what they do and what protections you have under Irish law. In this video, I will walk you through the key rights every tenant should know. To make it easier, I have added chapter links in the description below, so if you're looking for something specific like deposits, repairs, or notice periods, you can jump straight to that section. So what is RTB? The Residential Tenancies Board, or RTB, is the official body that regulates Ireland's private rental market. It maintains a national register of tenancies, enforces rental laws, and provides information and supports to both tenants and landlords. For tenants like us, the RTB matters because it sets basic standards, for example, like how much rent can rise, and offers a dispute resolution service if a problem arises. In short, the RTB helps ensure your rental is fair and legally protected. Section 1, Rent Limits and Rent Pressure Zones. The first part of the discussion will be your RPZ. I have touched on this in my previous video, but let's go a bit deeper in here. The good news for renters in Ireland, as of 2022, the entire country is now an RPZ. So what does that mean? Whether you're in a private rental, student accommodation, or even a license agreement, the RPZ rule applies to you. So what does this actually mean for us renters? So landlords can't just raise the rent however they want. Under the RPZ rule, rent increases are capped at 2% per year. But here's the key detail in that one. If inflation, which is measured by the HICP, is lower than 2%, then your rent can only go up by that lower amount. That means sometimes the increase could be less than 2% or even 0% if inflation is really low. To put it simply, all rent increases must follow these rules, and the good thing is, tenants don't just have to take a landlord's word for it. The RTB has a rent pressure zone calculator where you can always double-check any proposed increase. If your landlord tries to hike the rent above the legal limit, let's say 5% in Dublin, that's not allowed. You can refuse or report it to the RTB. I will drop the link of the calculator below so you can check it for yourself. Now, there are some exemptions to these rent caps. If a landlord thinks your property qualifies, they have to fill in an RPZ exemption form and send it to RTB. A property is exempt if it hasn't been rented in the last 2 years, if it's protected or proposed protected structure, and it hasn't been rented for the last 12 months. Or the third one is if it's undergone a substantial change in the nature of the accommodation. So what does this mean for you or for us as a renter? Basically, if you're already renting and if you're searching for a new place, you need to know these rules. Always check if your property is covered by RPZ, which is most likely as it is now that RPZ applies everywhere in Ireland. Use the calculator to double check the maximum rent allowed. And remember, unless the landlord can prove an exemption, they have to stick to the RPZ caps. Next part would be advance notice for rent increases in RPZs. Since all of Ireland is now an RPZ, landlords have to follow a strict rules when raising rent. They can only increase the rent once every 12 months. They must give at least 90 days written notice before the new rent starts. And the notice must clearly say the new rent amount, the date it starts, and show how it was calculated using the RPZ calculator. If you think the rent increase is wrong, first talk to your landlord, and if it is still unfair, you can ask the RTB to help resolve the dispute. Remember, no landlord can raise your rent more than once a year, and they must follow the 90-day rule notice. Section 2, Deposits and Deduction. Let's talk about security deposits, what they are and what the rules are around them. A security deposit is money you pay before your tenancy starts as protection for the landlord. It's meant to cover things like rent arrears, unpaid utility bills if you're responsible for them, damage beyond the normal wear and tear, or if you didn't give the required notice. The law says the deposit cannot be more than 1 month's rent. You need to take note of this one. They cannot ask you for more than 1 month's rent deposit. You should also pay the deposit only after you're happy with the property and rental terms. Make sure you get a signed and dated receipt, both to you and the landlord or the agent should have it, okay? When the tenancy ends, a deposit must be returned as soon as possible, although not necessarily on your move-out date. the landlord usually needs a bit of time to inspect the property. Now, there are only specific reasons the landlord can keep any part of your deposit. I think the first one is if rent is unpaid by move out, if utility bills, which you're responsible for, are unpaid, and for damage beyond above the normal wear and tear, missing or broken items. And lastly, if you end a fixed term tenancy early and you didn't give a proper notice. The key point in here is that landlords cannot hold your personal belongings against you to make you pay something. That's not legal. If it happens, you can go to RTB's dispute service. Now, what is a normal wear and tear? Remember, you're not responsible for a normal wear and tear. This includes a minor scuffs on the wall, faded paint, worn carpets from the everyday use. However, damage beyond that, like large holes in the walls, broken windows, or even severe stains, can be deducted from your deposit. It's always better to take photos and document the condition when you move in to protect yourself. Here is a quick checklist before you moved in. This is to help you set up your tenancy properly. Inspect the property, thoroughly check the property to ensure it meets minimum standards. References, they would usually ask you to provide any required references to the landlord. Deposit receipt, ensure you receive a written record and a receipt for the deposit you paid. Number 4 is tenancy agreement. Have a written tenancy agreement that includes all necessary details. Number 5, inventory report. Receive a list of contents and their condition signed by both parties and take dated photos to accompany the list. Number 6 would be your rent book. Obtain a rent book and receipts if rent is not being paid electronically. Okay? For more details, refer to the RTB tenant checklist. I'll link the description below if you would like to go into that website and check that one. So, now that you have seen the before you move in checklist, let's proceed with the before you move out checklist. This will also help protect your deposit. The first one is to make sure all your rent is up to date. Number 2, final meter readings for utilities and settle any bills. Number 3, remove all of your personal items, of course. And then number 4, clean the place, leave it similar to how it was when you moved in, accounting for normal wear and tear, of course. Number 5, take photos of both move in and move out. If an inventory exists, check that everything is in the same condition. Section 3, notice periods for renters. If you're renting and you plan to leave, you cannot just pack up and walk away. You need to give a proper written notice to your landlord, okay? The notice period depends on how long you've been living in here or how long you've been living in the property. So this is the guide for you. Now, the safest way to do this is by using the RTB's official notice of termination form, which you can download straight from rtb.ie. That way, you know the wordings are correct and it won't be rejected for a technical mistake. So, I'll give you a step-by-step example of giving notice. I will use our family as an example. So, my family and I moved into our apartment in May last year, and we're planning to move into our new house in November 2025 this year. So step 1, check the notice period. We've been renting for more than 1 year, which falls into the 1 to 2 year bracket. So the law says we need to give 42 days written notice. Step number 2, we fill out the RTB notice of termination form, and this form should include our names, the landlord's name, the property address, the date you're sending it, and the date you plan to leave. For us, that would be November 2025. And then, step number 3 is to deliver it in a way that you can prove. You can send it via a registered unpost or hand it over in person with a witness. So anything that gives you proof that the landlord has received it. And the last one would be the step 4 is keep a copy to yourself. Always keep a copy of the form and any delivered receipt. That protects you in case there's a dispute about your notice. By following these steps, you make sure that your notice is valid, your deposit is protected, and your tenancy ends smoothly. So the bonus tip in here is since June 2022, any tenancy that is over 6 months automatically continues under security of tenure unless you give a proper notice. That means that your landlord cannot just ask you to leave without legal grounds. You are protected. Section 4 would be repairs and maintenance. Your landlord has a legal duty to keep your home safe, dry and good repair. That means the building should be structurally sound, the heating works, there's hot and cold water, and your electricity or gas supply is safe. Any appliances they provide, like a boiler, a stove, must also be working properly. If you notice issues like damps, leaks, electrical faults, or a broken heating system, your landlord is responsible for fixing them promptly. Now, that's the landlord's responsibility. Now, your role also as a renter is important. You're expected to take reasonable care of the property so you don't cause damage on purpose, report any problems quickly, and it's a good idea to take photos and make a quick inventory when you moved in. This protects you if there's ever a dispute. Also, remember to allow any reasonable access when repairs or inspections needs to happen. Sometimes, landlords don't act fast enough. If a necessary repair isn't done within a reasonable time frame, you can arrange an emergency repair yourself and recover the cost. But you need to keep all receipts and records of communication. This is usually a last resort, but it's good to know that you have the right to do this. An example of this is, say, your boiler breaks down in the middle of winter and your landlord hasn't fixed it for weeks. You can call a certified plumber to do the repair, pay the bill, and then ask your landlord to reimburse you. Take photos of the broken boiler, keep all receipts, and document your emails or texts. That way, you're fully protected if there's ever a dispute. So for more information on this one, you can always check the official RTB guide on repairs and maintenance. Section 5, illegal evictions and harassment. This is good to know because you need to know your rights, especially if you are in this situation. So what is illegal eviction? It's illegal for a landlord to evict you by force or threat. This includes acting like changing the locks, shutting off utilities, or verbally abusing you into leaving. Such behavior is considered harassment, and tenants facing these are protected by law. So what are you to do if you're facing an illegal eviction? So number 1, document everything. Keep records of all communications and any incidents of harassments or eviction attempts. Number 2, contact the RTB. File a complaint with the RTB as soon as possible. Number 3 is seek legal advice. Consult with a solicitor to understand your options and rights. So RTB enforcement and legal protections. If you are legally evicted or locked out, you can immediately bring a complaint to RTB. They can order your landlord to allow you back into the home or to your house or apartment and can award you up to 20,000 euros in damages for illegal evictions. This is illegal. They cannot do that. There is a proper process for this. Now, proper eviction process. Any eviction must follow the RTB's valid notice of termination process. Ensure any eviction notice you receive is on the official RTB form, has a lawful reason, and provides the correct notice period. If it's not, it is not valid. So you can see more of this on the RTB website under Notice of Termination Guide. Okay? Section 6, resolving disputes with your landlord through the RTB. So for this section, we're diving into how you can resolve disputes with your landlord using the RTB. Whether it's about rents, deposits, repairs, or other issues, the RTB offers a structured process to help you find a solution. The very first one would be mediation. It is free and informal. If you're facing a dispute, start with mediation. A neutral mediator will help both of you and your landlord discuss the issue and try to reach a fair agreement. If both of you agree to this, the mediator will issue a legally binding determination order. So, that's the first step. Step number 2, adjudication. This has a fee of 30 euros. So, if a mediation doesn't resolve the issue, you can apply for adjudication. An independent adjudicator will review the evidence and make a legally binding decision based on what was provided. This process takes longer than a mediation, but it is still straightforward. And then, number 3, tribunal, a final appeal. If you are not satisfied with the adjudicator's decision, you can appeal to a tribunal. This is a full rehearing of the case where you can present new evidence if you have one, and the tribunal's decision is final and legally binding. Now, how do you go through this 3 process? How to apply? You can apply for mediation, adjudication, or a tribunal through the RTB's Online Dispute Resolution Center. If you prefer, you can also download and complete the application form and submit it by email or post. I hope this section really sorts out the case you're facing right now if you're in this part of this video because this is happening to you at the moment, okay? Let's give a few samples. So deposit dispute. Your landlord claims 300 euros deposit for cleaning, even though you left the place tidy. In reality, the routine cleaning is a normal wear and tear. You can contact the RTB to dispute the deduction, and since legally a deposit should only cover excess damage, the RTB will evaluate evidence, your photos, the invoices, and can order the balance returned. Next one would be illegal rent hike. Your landlord emails you a 5% rent increase in a city apartment. You know you live in an RPZ zone, so the maximum allowed is 2%. So you politely explain this and point to the RTB's RPZ calculator to check the legal limit. If they insist, you could refuse the increase or report it. The RTB can rule any excess increase invalid. Now, next one would be repair delays. You have a leaking roof that the landlord doesn't fix for months. You document it, photos, emails, and remind him again and again of their duty to repair it. But they still ignore it and the leak worsens. You could arrange for an urgent fix like a roofer and then ask the landlord to reimburse you with receipts. Knowing your right to do this means you're empowered to act if necessary. Okay? So that's repair delays. What else? Eviction notice. You return from a holiday to find a termination notice slipped under the door with only 14 days notice. This is absolutely invalid. Landlord must use the RTB form, give a full statutory notice. Remember, it's a minimum 90 days for new tenancies. And then you can tell the landlord the notice is invalid and that you'll file a dispute if they pursue it. And the RTB would likely rule in your favor. So that is a breakdown of your key rights as a tenant in Ireland. The best thing you can do is stay proactive. Document everything, keep written records, and use trusted resources like rtb.ie or citizensinformation.ie if any issues come up. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to Sassito for more clear guides on living in Ireland 101. So let me know in the comments what's the biggest challenge you faced as a tenant. So see you in the next video.